So we're almost good. So kind of thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We have a very big interest. I'm this is Pascal Nijgen. I'm joined by my colleague, Ksenia Goleneva. And so we're very pleased also to have HPQ Silicon and its CEO, Bernard Tourillon. So there's some of you know already the company, some will be new. So HPQ is listed in the Canada, ticker is HPQ.V. In the US, it's URAGF. It's about 200+ million market cap company, very clean tech focus on the EV and solar sectors, very interesting and exciting new technologies. So we'll do kind of a two-part first, 10 to 15 minutes presentations, and then we'll answer some questions. We have had quite a lot, so we'll go from there. So without further ado, Bernard, leave the floor to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pascal. Just to start up, for everybody to know, the idea behind this presentation was for me to introduce our new presentation, but also to introduce HPQ Silicon to US investors. And that's why I'm working with Pascal. So without further ado, let's go through the presentation because I know that it's a part that really excites people. So typical disclaimer, we know this. Okay, silicon. On the September 22nd, 2020, silicon, which is a material that HPQ has been actively involved for over the last 5 years of doing a lot of R&D, became more mainstream when during battery days, Elon Musk mentioned that two things. First of all, to achieve the transition to sustainable energy, which is the driving force behind what HPQ, we must have more affordable EV and energy storage. And as we go along in the presentation, which is available on our website, I'll explain it more. And then Tesla talked about the pathway materials, saying silicon is awesome and inexpensive. We at HPQ and Pyro have always known that, but it's nice to have somebody else mention. And he talked about the advantages in batteries. But the key point is silicon is awesome, yes. Inexpensive, I have sort of my question mark about that. Because silicon may be the most abundant element in the Earth's crust, but it doesn't exist in its pure state. You need an expensive carbothermic process. And right now, the carbothermic process is not very efficient. You need to turn 6 metric tons of raw material in a big electric furnace to produce a material of what's called raw silicon, 98% to 99.5. But you cannot take that raw silicon and plug it into a battery and says, I have battery material. No, raw silicon must be transformed and engineered before it can be used for battery application. And this is where HPQ is really involved. We've created sort of a world-class R&D consortium. A lot of the people listening to me probably know about PyroGenesis, which is sort of like our first of all, they're our biggest shareholders. They own almost 9% of the shares and 12 to 13% on a fully diluted basis. But they have a technical expertise that is second to none as regard to plasma and high temperature processes. And any carbothermic process are basically high temperature processes. And we've also added Apollon Solar, which is a French engineering R&D company, and fully dedicated in the field of energy transition. And one of their favorite material to work for energy transition has been silicon. Been created in 2001, team of engineers and scientific, long experience of doing silicon purification and all those issues. But really, one of the key factors I really find interesting for our developments we move forward is the fact that we're producing, they've discovered a way to produce H2 from silicon by hydrolysis. So that's really something, that's another market that's going to be really good for what we're doing. So what is HPQ really doing? We're commercializing low-cost solution, and we're starting the commercial validation of the low-cost process now. Why is this presentation now? Because I knew December was a important month for HPQ. It's a month where I wanted to talk more about what we're doing, because it's the month when we're going to start to be producing the material. That's public knowledge. But what are we developing? With PyroGenesis, we're really developing two technical processes. One of them, a much more efficient way of transforming the raw material with our reactor into the silicon. So we only need 4.5 metric tons of material, and we can tolerate much more higher level of impurities, and we produce the 1 metric ton. The second processes we're developing is transforming the raw silicon into the spherical silicon nanopowders and nanowires that battery manufacturers are looking for. And what we're looking to do is tailor-made specific SI material in a specific range from 200 nanometers, which is 0.2 micron, all the way to 5 micron. And you can see the material we produced during our proof of concept. Just this image, not even us having the sample, just this image has attracted interest from many players. And we've even gotten a pre-order from a large-scale car manufacturer. With Apollon, we're developing, because we know there's going to be multiple applications for silicon. We're looking at developing what's known as capacity to produce porous silicon, which is a different material than the material we're doing. And also we're exploring with them the new generation of environmentally friendly way to produce hydrogen using our material. People have to realize that 1 kilogram of nanopowders of silicon generates 1.4 cubic meters of hydrogen. So that's really interesting. Implementation plan. Over the next 12 months, really starting now, we're really moving forward. Lab scale and proof of concept tests have already completed. HPQ is not a company that says, I have this great idea, it's going to take me years. We had this great idea many years ago. We had this great idea before people were talking about silicon, before silicon was becoming more and more mainstream. So that's really what's going on. Our projects are fully funded, okay, and we're ready to go live to start producing spherical silicon nano and micro powders for the lithium-ion batteries. We're going to be producing nanowires, and we're also going to be able to send nano powders for hydrogen to our partners in France to test the material. So the key point is, from December on, it's going to get really exciting. It was fun before, but now we're starting to deliver. And the part before is when we're doing the R&D, the research, getting ourselves ready to move forward. So the original breakthrough, the PUREVAP QRR, why is this really important? Well, first of all, we often discuss that this is the equivalent, if you put this in computer scheme, from going from mainframe computers to desktop computers. Why? If you look, the conventional process, big electrical arc furnace, you need minimum size 30,000 metric tons to be able to reach the economics of scale that people are looking for. On our side, we only need 4.5 metric tons of material to make 1 ton. We can tolerate much more impurities. Their process basically concentrates the impurities, so they need very, very pure material to work. Our process eliminates impurities in the process moving forward. Why is this so important? Because every silicone material basically starts as a raw product. The raw silicone will be producing, and we'll be able to produce a material that nobody can really do. If you think about it, if you need a new conventional plant, you have to build it 30,000 metric tons, and only 40% of that output basically can be the 2N, which is the driving force behind all the market demand. PUREVAP QRR is scalable by increment of 2,500 metric tons. What that means is we need less investment, so we can focus much more of our energies on going after niche market as opposed to going over other products. So that's really it. Anyway, the presentation is there. I think it's pretty straightforward to read. This point is very easy to see. We will be the lowest cost producer of the raw ingredient. And why is this important? Because all the other transformation that we're looking at doing are fundamentally going to be driven from taking our raw material. Just a quick presentation here on this page about the opportunity in silicone market. Demand is going to reach 3.8 million metric tons, worth about 10 billion in 2025. That's just raw silicone. That's what I consider the low value end of the product. But growth will be driven by demand for chemicals in the 2N that's used as feedstock to make silicones. And people have to realize silicone and silicones are not the same thing. Used as feedstock to produce polysilicon, which is what they use in the solar and the electronic business. Transfer into silicone powders for high value specialty application, the 1 micron to 5 micron, and use as feedstock to make engineered silicone material for batteries. So the overall big scheme of the QRR, the opportunities are great there, but we're going to focus much more on this. This is just our pathways. Next year, we're going to have a pilot plant operational, and we'll be able to demonstrate our commercial scale. But what really excites me is this section, energy storage, all right? Demand for energy storage. The problem with renewable energy is it produces energy when we don't need it. Investment in storage of energy is going to go through the roof, and silicon has been identified as one of those key materials for doing it. To meet demand, the world needs better batteries, okay? But why is battery performance so slow compared to everything else? For two reasons. In electronics, all the other material, it was a question of shrinking the physical circuit to get the higher capacity. In batteries, you need to improve two things. You need to make advances in chemistry and material science. The work that's been done in many, many years has been based on chemistry. We've now reached a point where it's material science, okay? Many of the chemical processes used by modern batteries have reached their limit. Improvement need from the material science research work. And that's what HPQ is focused. We're focused on delivering low-cost silicon alternative for the battery market. As another person in the industry said, the problem is not can we make a battery that's powerful enough. So the power of the battery is the key. It's can we make that battery cheap enough to build 1 trillion of them. And to make the battery cheap enough, you need to have the right material, low-cost material. What's the limiting factor? Well, fundamentally, very simple. Lithium-ion batteries is the amount of lithium that can be held in battery electrode. Right now, in the conventional battery, the negative electrode or anode is made of carbon in form of graphite. Silicon allows for faster charging. The key point here to understand, not only is we're 10 times faster than graphite, the gravimetric, and 3 times the volumetric. The key point to understand, if you want fast charging batteries, you know, a battery where you're gonna go stop your car, 10 minutes later, your battery's gonna be charged 80%, you can go, there'll need to be silicone on it. Silicone is the only material that allows for fast charging. So it's becoming mainstream, you know, as I mentioned, Tesla's there, but it's been known for a long time, a lot of research done. The challenges is that when you charge and discharge these silicone batteries, it expands, contracts. So you have a very good, efficient battery for a few times and it dies over very quickly. To resolve that issue, you need to make what's known as highly engineered material, but they're very expensive. So the material solution to resolve the issues of the batteries are known. The problem is their cost of making it, okay? That's why right now there's only about 5% per weight of silicone in batteries. They're trying to increasing, but the limiting factor is really this. Battery manufacturers, okay, do not want to pay more than what it's costing them for their graphite right now, which is costing between $10 to $20. So they might be willing to pay between 3 to 10 times more, but it's really going to be between $30 and $50 a kilogram. If you look at the cost of all those material, there's a bit of a gap there. This is where HPQ comes in. We're working with PyroGenesis. They have 20 years of experience using plasma atomization to make metal powders for 3D. They invented this. They understand this part of the business better than anybody else. And together we're developing a low-cost system to transform raw silicone into tailor-made silicone material from 0.02 M to 5 micron. Why am I saying this? Because I know that every battery manufacturer have their own recipe. The chemical part of the work, every battery manufacturer have their own special recipe covered by trade secrets and the way they work at. If I focus on just being able to deliver the material they're looking for in that size range and offer it to them, they'll be very interested in working with me because I'm not seen as a competitor. All the other people that I want to enter this field want to do the material and want to also do the batteries. I just want to sell the material that's going to be needed. Our process is simple. We take our raw silicone, we put it in our reactor, and we produce a spherical. Demand is going to be astronomical. Right now, the worldwide capacity is maybe 5 tons of producing nanomaterials. But according to Bloomberg, you know, assuming that 1 metric ton for 1 metric ton of silicon is to store 5 gigawatt, we're going to have a demand in about a million metric ton of silicon nanopowders by 2040. What I said is exciting. Phase 1 has been ongoing. We're in December. We're going to be starting producing SI nano samples very soon, as we've said. Phase 2 is ongoing. What's phase 2 is important because phase 2 is where we're going to start to demonstrate that we can scale this up. We know, you know, from our design, from expertise, we're going to be doing this. And phase 3 is for us to start really looking at building a bigger capacity, starting with a 50 ton per year plant. Where we are in the scaling up, we've done the proof of concept test. We're in December. We're going to be starting to have a capacity to use 30 kilograms per month. By the middle of next year, our capacity is going to go up to 300 kilogram per month. And then when we go for pilot plant, we'll go for about 4,000 kilogram per month, and then so on and so on. So we have already in our mindset, in our timing, how to scale this up to commercial size. PyroGenesis does not get involved with the project unless they can see from bench tests all the way to commercial scale. And that's literally, they wouldn't be invested, they wouldn't be our biggest shareholders if that wasn't the case. So we're also working with Apollon. I'll just skip through quickly through this. It's just that I want to be able to have a big breadth of material, silicone material I can offer the market. Nanoporous silicone can have also some interesting application. As I told you, every battery manufacturer is their own way. The other thing I really find interesting with working at Apollon is their expertise in silicone powders for hydrogen. And that's something that's also going to be very beneficial for us. Just the process we're moving on this, it's just explained. It's really an offshoot of the process of the solar industry just to make the porous silicone, because there might be a market just for those type of material because they each have their own application. Why invest in HPQ? Quickly, the market for energy storage in the US alone is estimated to be about 426 billion in a few years. That is massive. HPQ Silicon represent an investment opportunity to participate in that surge, okay? And from this moment on in December, we're ready to go live and start producing spherical silicone nanopowders, micron powders, basically the material that battery manufacturers are looking for. They're looking so much for it that just based on pictures of what we've done, a major car manufacturer is already passing order for material. Also, what's really interesting, going to be interesting for us, is the silicone nanopowders for hydrogen. We think that's also going to be a massive market for what we're doing. And it doesn't deviate because it's almost the same product. It's just like with the battery manufacturer, I have to do certain, material size to their specificity. It's going to be the same thing for hydrogen. So I think investor evidence, I've seen our movement up. You see the upswing in December. The key point is this is just the beginning. I truly do believe that what we're doing is going to be changing the battery manufacturing world. Just a quick rundown. We're very well funded. It's a good cash position. We have about $18 million. You're taking consideration our warrants that are in the money. Point to remember about our warrants in the money is that 85% of those warrants are controlled by 4 groups. One of them is the Quebec government. The second one is PyroGenesis. The other ones are insiders. And the other ones are strategic investors. Good enough?
Perfect, thank you. So kind of Ksenia will start with asking some questions and we'll go after.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm gonna start with an investor who stated, first let me say thank you very much, Bernard and HPQ, for all the great work. I have been following and enjoying the progress of the company over a number of years and enjoying the change in the stock price over the last months. So have we all. Okay, so I have some questions, a couple of questions on the hydrogen development mentioned in September press release. So the first question is, included in the agreement is the right for HPQ to commercialize exclusively in Canada and non-exclusively in the US, the Genau H2 system, as well as also distribute and sell the powders required for the hydrolysis production of hydrogen, H2. How do you see the commercialization of the Genau H2 system? This number one question, they're all together if you want to answer them all. Do you plan to recruit a sales team? And also, when do you expect to have the prototype?
Wow, those are 3 very specific questions in that regard. Okay, it's all going to be coming online now. Beginning of January is going to be moving on that forward. Fundamentally, yes, we will eventually be looking at having our own sales team, but the real interest for HPQ in this is because it's just like printer. Okay, what I want to do is work with the Apollon Solar for them to start using silicone-based powder as opposed to the powder they're presently using, because that's going to increase by 40% the generation capacity. The real money in this process is going to be whoever makes the powder. Okay, it's like a printer. When you sell a printer, it's not really there where you make the money, it's the ink. So that's really our business strategy to everything else. For us to introduce the Janelle and start talking about it, just to increase the visibility of this technology. But there's a lot of things ongoing, so I'll have to limit myself to press release on that. But fundamentally, yes, we're advancing on that. Next question.
Okay, next question is on the nanosilicon production.
Mm-hmm.
Is the nanosilicon production in the foreseeable future, Gen 3 and beyond, going to be at PyroGenesis, or can it be near the client, for instance, near electrical vehicle manufacturer?
Fundamentally, the way, like the first machines, all the way to pilot tests we do around PyroGenesis just because we need researchers there. But one of the advantage of our system is because they're small, scalable, we can basically put them right next to battery manufacturing. Actually, the best idea for us to be within the ring fence of any EV manufacturers' gigafactories. Now, that's my thought. Will it get there? One of the reasons for that is well, the advantage for that is the transport of nano powders is not as easy as it might sound. So yes, we'll be looking to this. As we scaled up, we will look what's the best place for us to put ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much. The third question is, it's great that HPQ has a product that EV battery, solar, and other manufacturers are looking for. But are you able to encapsulate the silicon to prevent or minimize so-called cracking? Or what stage of R&D are the manufacturers in?
I will answer this the following way. Encapsulating is just one strategy that people are looking into. And the problem is taking the raw silicon and making it into the size. This is why I said that we're looking at doing a specific size between 0.20 micron to 5 micron, okay? Because those have been found to have been the way to resolve the issue of cracking. So what we're doing is we're offering a low-cost alternative to it. Right now, battery manufacturers are able to test the conceptual idea behind these things because they can pay for very expensive material because they don't use a lot. The step we're working in is allowing them to go from laboratory to commercial scales in a way it's going to be economical. So that's our business focus. We already know that nanoparticles resolve the issue. Then you can go in different size, different type of material, and those type of things. But those are all issues that we are aware of and we're working with. So I would dare to say that we're not really in R&D, we're more in deployment of R&D in the sense of just making the powder and selling it.
Thank you, Bernard.
Perfect. Thanks so much. So we have plenty of questions live and also some others that we got a bit before. So can you give us an update on the level of support from the Quebec and Canadian government going forward?
To be totally honest, like the Quebec government is very happy about their investment they did in HPQ. They invested in 2018 a convertible debenture of $1.8 million. At that time, everybody thought they were crazy to do it because the conversion was 12 cents. The stock was 8 cents, 7 cents. Now they're sitting on a tight yield and profit, and I'm restarting discussion with them. I don't really have any worries about the support we're going to get from both governments. It's just my experience going through the process of the first one led me to what's the best way to approach it. And I think being able to have what we have, which is reaching the point where I really want it to be, where we start producing material and sending it to battery manufacturers, is completely going to change it. Because I'm not going to go see the government asking for support for an idea. I'm going to be looking at support for building commercial material. So I'm not worried about the Quebec government or federal government.
Perfect, perfect. So another question here. This new technology is quite revolutionary, and no doubt some other players would like to have it. So how did you protect that technology, and how has security around the project been implemented?
Well, the reality is HPQ outsourced everything of its R&D to PyroGenesis. PyroGenesis deals with military contracts. So not really worried about that part of the process. The other thing, we're very cautious about what we issue, no pictures within the plant, nothing. So we do have a multiple phase, security, but all the technical informations are kept within PyroGenesis servers. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Okay, perfect. So can and will HPQ be able to supply the car battery markets? can they be bought by a major car company such as Tesla, GM, Ford, or another car makers?
It's always an opportunity. It's a risk for a technology company like us that we, you know, eventually when people realize how much, you know, how easier it would be to internalize and not let the competitor comes in. My business strategy is to try to be the supplier for everybody. What is our best sort of defense strategy against that right now? Make sure we have the biggest price, or twofold. One of them are our biggest shareholders, PyroGenesis. Second one's the Quebec government. So there is sort of a nationalistic pride that we're trying to play on to keep it moving. But it is a reality that will be there. You can't stop market dynamics.
Perfect, perfect. So when will, kind of another question, when will the first order be sent to the unknown car maker? That was
well,
kind of indicated
in all our press release, we've stated that we are going to be starting in December. We're in December and we haven't issued a press release saying we're not going to do it. So that's about as best I can say.
Okay, on kind of on the follow on kind of on that, do you know how long the average test is once you supply the samples?
Well, if a cycle is a 1 day, all right, depending what type of cycle test they're going to do. If it's a 50 step, if you do a 50 cycle, if you do 100 cycles, 100 days. That's one of the reasons why we've done the Gen 1 now before we did the Gen 2. In the sense that, you know, at 30 kilograms of capacity, we can send enough material to enough different R&D groups for them to do the test. And by the time they're going to come back to me for second order, third order, then we'll have the bigger capacity to start bidding, because that's the way it's going to work. Hydrogen is going to be much quicker. Hydrogen, we send the material in France within a week, and we'll get the result back, and we'll basically get the confirmed what we basically know that the material should give, but we'll at least have an independent valuation. So battery manufacturers have a longer lead cycle. That's why I sort of wanted to have a Gen 1 capacity, even though it only produces 30 kilograms per month. In primary test sample, it's going to be a lot, and then as we move along, as we time to get the second machine on, when they're going to come back for follow-up orders for more materials with more specificity, then we'll be able to feed that. That's why we did it this way.
Perfect. So there's another question here. Noting the PUREVAP process requires the use of clean coal, do you have any plans to add CO2 capture to the full-scale plants? Also, do you have plans to sell the waste heat from the PUREVAP plants?
The waste heat, there might be some, might not be. We'll take a look at it. With regard to the carbon, the advantage, there's an R&D project that we're looking at with PyroGenesis, where we're looking at seeing if we can convert it. First of all, yes, it'll be picked up. It's actually it'll be all collected and everything else. But we're looking at an R&D project where we can basically recycle that carbon back into the process. It's feasible, but you know, it wasn't a priority R&D project, but I think it might move into one more next year. But fundamentally, we'll figure it out. Let us demonstrate how well the system works at pilot scale, get all the numbers down, then we'll figure out how to improve it, because that's really the way it works.
Perfect. So kind of another questions on the kind of on mentioning, say, if solutions are known but the costs are high, what is it that Tesla announced at its battery day that allows them to take the costs down so much?
Allow me to smile a bit when I say this. Tesla is, I'll just throw this, they're sort of driving down the cost. You know, I'll go back to the original slide at the beginning, okay? Yeah, it's right, silicon is inexpensive. Yes, you can buy this material for $2 $3 a kilogram. That's what silicon metal sells for. The problem is when you take that material and try to convert it into the material, whatever size they're going to be doing it. So, and that's where the issue is for everybody in the industry. And there is no magical solution, because if somebody had found it to have done it, it would be done like that. And sort of funny, that's been our philosophy, to go for it. And it has nothing to do with what Tesla's been saying about it, because we've been working with Professor Lionel Rouet for a long time. And he fundamentally said, you know, to make this, for have silicon to work in batteries, you need to have a certain specific size, which is in the range we're looking for. And that's a known factor out there. So that's why, since the beginning, our two approaches were there. Can we make the material that size? And can we be cost competitive with graphite? And that's been our driving objective, you know, what we're doing. So that's literally what we're saying. So since the beginning, we knew about this. So it's theoretically feasible, but you know, it's going to be a challenge, and I still don't know how it is. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, perfect. So there's a question kind of more on the sectors. With the vast majority of battery materials manufacturing supply chain located in China, Taiwan, with silicon providers such as Sumitomo Materials and Walker supplying from local plants, is there a battery material infrastructures being built in North America? Same questions for solar cells, same questions for semiconductor wafers.
Okay, HPQ is not interested at this stage either the solar cell or the electronics because the purity levels are way too high. We're more interested in markets that are going to be related to batteries. There is going to be local, I think what the pandemic has shown us that we cannot be fully dependent on outside suppliers, so there'll be a demand for local capacity for batteries. If I look at what Europe is doing and in the passport, in all the documentation, all the car manufacturers are going to want to do this. Car manufacturers are going to become battery manufacturers by default. So there's going to be a lot of local demand for what we're doing. And there's going to be a lot of, even in where I am in Quebec right now, the Quebec government that has lithium, all the other key ingredients, want to have a battery manufacturing capacity. Problem is that if they want a battery capacity and they want a fast charging battery, they'll need silicon. That's what I'm going to play into it. So I'm not really worried about the fact that it's in China and everything else. I wouldn't worry too much about Walker and all other, you know, offshoot of solar and electronic industry because their cost base is going to be very, very high. You have to understand that to make polysilicon, which is the ingredient used for solar and electronics, the raw ingredient you use is raw silicon. So if I can figure a way to take my raw silicon and make it into the battery material, I'm always going to be cheaper to Walker that basically takes the raw silicon, makes it into solar grade silicon, and downgrades it again.
Okay, perfect. Another technical questions, are the QRR reactor and NSIR reactors essentially one process, or will material be processed by the QRR reactor, cooled, and then processed by the NSIR?
Two processes. One makes the raw silicon material, the other one converts it. Maybe eventually we'll figure a way to combine them together, but at this stage we're attacking them as two different processes, and the reason is we think demand for the nanoparticles is going to be quicker, so it's going to be a better business strategy just to focus on making the nanoparticles at the beginning, and then eventually putting our capacity to produce our own raw material.
Okay, perfect. Another questions on the energy storage kind of business. So in Quebec, there's a big player, Hydro-Quebec. Is it going to be a customer of HPQ, or is there kind of anything you could discuss or about that, or give some input?
No. At this stage, no. It's at this stage, we're much more focused on doing the silicone material for batteries. You know, one of the main reasons why, you know, we registered myself as a lobbyist is to get the Quebec government to wake up to the fact that one of the biggest strategic minerals they want for batteries, they completely forgot, which is silicone. But it really doesn't, it's, the more we talk about batteries, the more we talk about energy, the better it is for HPQ, the better it is for what we're doing, because we're well positioned. So I don't really have a worry to go see them, but I understand how these organizations are. They don't want to hear about the plan, they want to get material. So this is why December for us is so critical. We're starting to produce material.
Okay, on the battery side and the kind of relations with the car manufacturers, the questions on, would you sign an exclusive deals with the car manufacturers if offered more money, or you'd prefer to work with all of them? What's the position of the company?
We'll discuss. We're not big fans of exclusivity. We try to have as many options as possible. I don't think it'd be an exclusivity. If somebody wants an exclusivity, they'll have to buy us. It's going to be as simple as that.
Good. And so what is the timeline to get kind of getting some revenues for HPQ? We have some questions.
I don't know why people are asking that question. We're sort of like developing a massive, not a revolutionary, but basically a game-changing process into it. Is the revenue stream that important? It's more demonstrating it can work, how we can scale it up moving forward. Yes, we have revenue stream, but I've understand some of the discussions that we can sell, for crazy price the sample. That's not what really interests me. It really interests me to be able to build a significantly large business following our business plan. The revenue streams, I think, is not one going to drive the valuation. It's more going to be the validation or a technology work, and a technology is game changing. That's really where it's going to be. And I understand why the question is revenues, because some people want to start it, going to make mathematics about what it's going to be. We did that for solar and realized the solar industry didn't work. But at the end, if we hadn't done all the work we've done in solar, we wouldn't be in this great position now. And hydrogen right now is just starting off. It just started becoming bigger and bigger. And I'm very excited about this. So the revenue stream, what we know is internally we've made our math and we can meet a significant investment return on what we're doing. And that's what we're focusing on.
Okay, another kind of questions a bit more technical. You mentioned silicon nanopowders will be used in H2 productions, hydrogen productions. Is this also useful in reverse for fuel cells to combine with hydrogen with oxygen?
My understanding of the process, it's a one-way process. You take the silicone, you put it in the water, you extract the hydrogen, that's it. You get basically as a byproduct sand back, and that's it. It's a one-way, it's not a reversible, but we think it's a very big market for what we're looking at. So the guys at Tourillon, we're not looking at reversibility. I think now it's more just generating quick energy, fast energy.
Good. So we're kind of a bit out of time. There's still another kind of many more questions, but kind of one might be interesting for investors, along with PyroGenesis, who's moved to the TSX and announced plans for the NASDAQ. What are the kind of the listing plans for HPQ in Canada and in the US?
Feedback here. The plan in Canada is going to be stay for TSX for a little while on the venture. In the US, I think we want to increase our visibility. That's one of the reasons why we did this webinar now. We're on the OTC other, and we'd like to go to the OTC QB or QX, and that's part of our plans moving forward. But my philosophy was I really wanted to start, more aggressive marketing what we're doing once we started to produce, as opposed to saying we're going to be doing this. I want to be able to say we've done that and have samples and go along. So that's really what the plan is.
Perfect. Maybe kind of last technical questions, and after we'll close. Why aren't you talking or using graphene as a coating for the silicon powders for the anode?
Because it's eventually it'll be there. There'll be a graphene manufacturer. Everybody has their own process of doing it. I'm not in the graphene business. I'm in the silicone business, and I'm trying to figure out. So we've done some tests on carbon, doing how it reacts into carbon, and we're trying to see how it's going to work in battery. Does it really improve the material compared to the base material we're producing? That's really where it is. But there's going to be so much material work that's going to be ongoing. So graphene producer are going to come around to us, because the issue is if you have graphite and you want to make it into blended material silicone, you'll have to come to me to get the material, because I know how the processes are done right now. It won't be economical without my material. So I'm going to let them do the R&D on graphene work. I'm going to focus mine on my silicone.
Okay, maybe the last questions. Who are HPQ's current competitors?
Honestly, I don't think any, because every one of our, it's hard to say they're really competitive. You can say that Alchem's are one of our competitors because they're trying to launch into. You can say REC Silicon is trying to be a silicone because they're going to batteries. Everybody says they're going to batteries. The problem is that what we are doing, nobody is doing, in the sense that working raw silicon to make it so small at the price range we're looking at doing it. And we're just focusing on the silicone material. I've talked to many battery manufacturers, and they sort of confirmed to me, everybody has their own recipe. So some of them are trying to be sort of hybrid, like we do the material, we do our own batteries, we do everything. And we're anode manufacturing. I'm just focused on doing the silicone. I think it's going to be big enough. It's going to be a massive market just for that. And if we can supply it to many people, the better it is. If you get stuck with one technology, you might be surprised. If there's multiple technology, chemistry process that we could use, that's where we want to use.
Good. Maybe you could just kind of on the stock and kind of say, is there kind of any analyst coverage on the stock?
Not at this stage, but I anticipate as PyroGenesis gets analyst coverage, because they're going to be TSX and NASDAQ, we will get some secondary analyst coverage, which is fine for us at the beginning. Perfect.
Thanks so much. We've been a bit above time, but it was very, very interesting. A great kind of overview of the company and kind of its growth plans and milestones. So we'll come back to you kind of likely early 2021. So thanks very much, Bernard. Thanks everyone for joining us. And so we wish you all a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.